Well, good morning, everybody. It is November the 16th, 2017. I'm Cindy Kay Currier, and it's still dark out, and it's raining out there. So who knows what it's going to be like today. I don't look at the weather all that often because it's never really what they say it's going to be. So we need to have a chat. A few videos ago, I shared the 5 levels of truth. And the video is, if you want to go back and look at it, it's entitled UFOs and the 5 Levels of Truth. And yesterday or the day before, I think I mentioned that we can't have the event until we smash through the first 2 levels. And several of you have been asking, okay, how do we do that? That's a really good question. And so I want us to address that today together. The first level, of course, is mainstream media, public school system. Most of the information that you're going to find on the internet, that's the truth that the majority of the collective on Earth shares. The real truth would be stuff like you would find on Dr. WC's Real Truth Call, where they talk about Nasera, Saint Germain. They talk a lot about the RV. They talk about investing in currencies and when those currencies are going to RV, and they talk about this great big amount that they're going to RV at. Let's see, what else do they talk about? Oh, they talk about white hats. And people that you'll hear addressed, talked about in that level of truth, the real truth, is David Wilcock, Benjamin Fulford, Drake Bailey. These are guys who talk about the plan, this plan to make everybody abundant, give everybody a lot of money, to distribute the wealth of the earth in an even and fair way. That's what they talk about. They talk about the dragon families, the Chinese dragon families, and how the families are benevolent and they want to help all the poor be free. And the people who are at that level of truth spend a lot of time doing projects, working on, what do they call them? Humanitarian projects. Think Landa China Global, those guys. Think of Poofness. Think of Yosef. Think of Dinar Chronicles, all those guys. That's a big level to move to. That's a big step for people who are at just the first truth level. So, and by the way, a lot of those people talk about Saint Germain and meditating and channeling and Sheldon Neidl, that kind of stuff, okay? So a lot of people at truth level 1 don't buy into that stuff because it sounds kind of nuts. And they know that can't be it. And so they just sort of ignore the whole thing. And don't understand that people who are there at the real truth phase or level, however you want to think of it, I should call it a phase rather than level. Because level implies, has a hierarchical sound to it, and that's not really what it is. It's a phase that we go through. It's a developmental phase, actually. In fact, that's what I think I should call them, developmental phases, because that's what they are. Humans growing up, humans moving from infancy to adulthood. So then we have the complex truth. Okay, you have the truth, the real truth, and then the complex truth. So an example of that would be when you come to realize that everything that has gone on in the real truth area has been mimicked and duplicated and fed back to the people by the AI. It's all been copied. Remember, the AI copies us. It copies us so precisely that we can't tell it's there. And then in order not to abolish itself, it takes a little turn And if it convinces enough humans to turn with it, it survives. See, this is a survival game for the AI. It's not a game at all to us because it's survival for us too. So when we move from truth to real truth to complex truth, we're talking about quantum thinking. And we're talking about quantum computers, quantum computing. And that's nothing mysterious. You can do quantum thinking by asking yourself, how can this bit of information be both true and false at the same time? That's the pertinent question. See, the truth movement needs to learn to ask that. The people who are in the real truth phase need to learn to ask that. How can my assumptions be both true and false at the same time? In order for my assumptions, my perceptions or perspectives or whatever word you want to use. And those people tend to think that everything is, they create their own reality, that their perceptions are like the big thing. They're stuck in that. So they want to get unstuck. They want to move in maturity to the complex truth. We ought to have a complex truth call, you know? If somebody wants to start a complex truth call, that'd be cool. The complex truth callers, that'd be cool. But to move to the complex truth, apply your quantum thinking and say, how can all these assumptions, how can Nicera be both factual and fictitious at the same time? In order for that to be true, what else would have to be true? What would have to be true for both to be the case? And that moves you into complex thinking, into complex truth. And that's where we are in this movement. We've got to get at least to the complex truth phase. There are 2 more phases after that. But we have to at least get to the complex phase before we can have the event. A lot of people are saying, hey, we've got critical mass. Yes. Well, critical mass is at the real truth phase. We need critical mass at the complex truth phase, at least, okay? So I've mentioned some people who, when you listen to them, you're listening to a real truth phase intel person. You've heard David Wilcock say, I heard him say on a radio show one time, well, this truth movement's happening and the freedom's happening by people who are, this is not a grassroots thing, these are official people and military. And I don't know if I think he even referred to the white hats. You need to know something. Those people who are part of that plan, their goal isn't to free humanity. Their goal is to help humanity be rich enough to have enough money so that they're satisfied, so that the control system, the AI, can remain in place. That's what the white hats are for. Okay, we need to move past the white hats, past the real truth, into complex truth. And I shared an example of that being, the regular truth people. Yeah, the earth is a sphere. It's a spherical ball spinning in space. And planets are these little rocks, that show third rock from the sun. Well, real truth people begin to understand interdimensionality. And they start to question all that. And they say, well, the earth is flat. Well, complex truth. Ask yourself, how can the earth be a sphere and flat at the same time? Then move into that way of quantum thinking. And the complex truth begins to move you into a human realm. The real truth, AI's got that. They are controlling that. They're controlling the complex truth to a large degree because that's still arrived at through quantum thinking. What kind of thinking does it require, and how many people does it require in the deep truth phase in order to trigger the event? Well, just one. Actually, that's not true. And I'll tell you why. There's the deep truth and then the incomprehensible. I like incomprehensible. I know incomprehensible is not a word. I'm fully aware of that. But if I say incomprehensible, a lot of you will be looking in your dictionaries. What is incomprehensible? But when I say uncomprehendable, you know what that is right away. And that's why I say that. Let me talk to you about what's going on in the deep truth, uncomprehendable truth phase. This is potentially going to blow you away. You know what? I think I'm going to stop here. I think I've given you enough because so many of you watching this are still at the truth, real truth phase. You need to get into the complex truth before, you need to grasp that and ponder that before we move further. So I'm going to stop this video now and go ahead and ponder that. And then we'll continue in another video. Okay, see you next time.